Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good night all. First of all, I introduce myself. My name Aulia Ramadani. I am a 2020 accounting student. Here I deliver a paper that I have summarized from some of them. And I will explain a little with my version. And the paper I made is the impact of COVID-19 pandemic to the Indonesian economy. Okay. The development of the economy today, especially in entering the end of the first quarter of 2020, become a phenomenon of horror for all humanity in the world. The horror phenomenon occurs because of the emergency of a new virus that has a word now of coronavirus. The impact of COVID-19 not only disturbed the Indonesian export and export sector, but also attacked the trade sector, which is from tax revenues, which also decreased. Countries that often import from export activities cried out by China, one of which is Indonesian. In addition, China is also one of the largest trading partners sounded by Indonesia. The Central Bureau of Statistics released data related to oil and gas export and non-oil and gas, stated that the decline in oil and gas export switch was caused by this impact. It was not surprising because China was the largest crude importer in the world. If there is a negative correction of production in China, the world will experience supply chain disorders which can eventually reduce the world production process whose raw materials are imported from China. Okay. Indonesia itself has made a rule of policy restriction to travel and from countries that are included in the red zone of transmission during the COVID-19 pandemic with the aim of breaking of chain of COVID-19 transmission. This step follows a policy that has been implemented first by several countries. The impact of COVID-19 in the tourism sector also did not escape threats. The decline in foreign visitors also affect the income of restaurants that their customers are more dominant are visitors from abroad. Pandemic COVID-19 is also expected to affect the micro, small, and medium enterprises sector. This is because for foreign visit that come to a destination will usually buy souvenirs to take home. Pandemic COVID-19 has been the focus of discussion at the G20 meeting. Countries belonging to the organization expressed empathy to the country and residents affected by COVID-19. The emergency of the world pressure on COVID-19 triggered a country incorporated in the G20 to strengthen foreign cooperation. The whole country in the organization agreed to increase supervision of the emerging consequences of COVID-19. In addition, the world must be also begin to be aware of various potential risks and have the same mission, namely implementing effective policy in the form of monetary or fiscal structural policy. The rapid development of technology is changing the order of the global economy toward digital economic and finance in the background of this activity. In addition, the activity also the strengthening of the regulation and supervision of the financial sector, and the development of the domestic capital market. Strengthening of the financial system in the financial sector. With the implementation of the financial sector reform agenda and technology use is the main objective of the G20 central bank governors and the Minister of Finance. Okay, here there are some data that I will explain a little. The method used in this study is a descriptive quantitative method, namely using an approach called secondary data analysis. In the slide to the one impact of the COVID-19 pandemic caused the low investor sentiment to the market, which ultimately brought the market towards negative. However, after the achievement of the phase 1 agreement in January 2020, the vote between the United States and China began to look down. Monthly Bulletin February 2020 edition published by PT Sailendra Capital report that today Indonesia is still in a stable economic situation. Strategic steps related to fiscal and monetary are also expected to still have space to provide economic stimuli if needed. But along with the development of the COVID-19 pandemic case, the market is indeed more fluctuating in the negative direction. The COVID-19 pandemic, which rose significantly from the end of January 2020, has been captured 28,000 people. After February 24, 2020, it was not that 79,930 humans had been infected COVID-19, and as many as 2,469 people were recorded dead in this pandemic. Pandemic COVID-19 also has significant effect on bonds and also the stock market. The influence of the COVID-19 pandemic on bonds and stock markets can be seen in the performance of the composite stock price index and government bonds in the last 10 years. And next, in this picture, it can be seen that the market fluctuates in a negative direction to the rate of the spread of COVID-19. Pandemic COVID-19 also has a huge impact if compared to the case caused by the SARS virus. Okay. In the picture 2-3, Chinese country have a wide scope of the spread of pandemic if compared with the distribution of the SARS virus. The domestic happen power in China is currently very high compared to 2003. The number of areas in China are exposed to COVID-19 large 3 to 4 times if compared to the SARS virus. And next, in the fourth slide, pandemic COVID-19 also had an impact on the decline in the number of transportation customers in the present years when compared to last year. The calculation has carried out at 10 days after the Chinese New Year. The decline in the number of transportation customers occurs in almost every mode of transportation ranging from air, land, water, and train transportation. The decline of the transportation customer is very clear when compared to normal time in previous years. However, in early February, the distribution of the new case related to COVID-19 was seen to decline. The decline occurred in the case of infection until the death toll was killed. And next, decline in retail sales growth has been previously predicted by Sailendra Capital, which stated that the COVID-19 pandemic will have a significant impact on China economic growth ranging from 0.5 to 1% in the first quarter period 2020. Not only that, the slow Indonesian export activity to China will also have a significant impact on the national economy. The slow global economy has strong affected Indonesia economic growth. This can be seen in the analysis of sensitivity to the Indonesian economy. Based on sensitivity analysis, it was found that when a 1% slowdown in China economy, it will affect and have an impact on the rate of economic growth in Indonesia, which is equal to minus 0.09%, in line with the continued sensitivity analysis where every 1% of Europe economic slowdown will have an impact on the pace of economic growth in Indonesia by minus 0.07%, India minus 0.02%, Japan minus 0.05%, and America United minus 0.06%. The same picture also occurs in most commodities, namely every 10% decrease in the price of crude palm in CPO will have an impact on the Indonesian economy of 0.08%, positive oil of 0.02%, and coal of minus 0.07%. And next, in the sixth picture of the stimulus slowing in the Chinese economy will also have a very large impact on the slow world economy and also from some price commodities that also greatly affect the pace of economy in Indonesia. And next, okay, saying this condition, the Chinese government took into consideration of the condition by working with the Chinese central bank to carry out all means to boost the global economy. Sailendra Capital analysis that the Central Bank of China will immediately implement a policy of cutting the benchmark interest rate of 100 basis points. The cutting was possible to be carried out in February to the second quarter of 2020. Sailendra Capital also analyzes that the Chinese central bank would also immediately decrease the medium-term lending facility rate of 10 to 15 basis points and the prime rate loan LPR also expected to be reduced immediately. It is possible for 30 basis points even more. And next, policies from all the Chinese authorities and governments were carried out to support the war on the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on the real economy, considered actively carried out by the Chinese government. Research assists there should be an effort to provide fiscal stimulus with a greater percent to stimulate the global economy due to being suppressed by the COVID-19 pandemic. But at this time, it is only given to the regional government level, even though the actual fiscal situation of their country is also stretched. In the tourism sector, the impact of economic growth in Indonesia is considered limited, especially when the amount of tourists from China who came to Indonesia were not as big as tourists from other foreign countries. Okay, next slide. Based on the analysis, note that the tourism sector was record only contributing 1% of Indonesian gross domestic income. The situation is very inversely proportional to other countries, such as the Philippines has a contribution of 2%, Malaysia 5%, Thailand 12%, Singapore 6%, and Australia 3%. Okay, next slide, conclusion. So the result of this study can be concluded that the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic caused the low investor sentiment to the market, which ultimately led the market to the direction tend to be negative. Not only that, the sole export of Indonesian to China also has a significant impact on the Indonesian economy. Based on sensitivity analysis, it was found that when a 1% slowdown in China's economy, it will affect and have an impact on the rate of economic growth in Indonesia, which is equal to minus 0.09%, in line with the continuous sensitivity analysis where every 1% of the Europe economic slowdown will have an impact on the pace of economic growth in Indonesia, namely 0.07%, India, Japan, and the United States. Okay. So many presentation from me. Apologize if there is an error of word or inappropriate data. Aulia Ramadani say goodbye to resignation. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.